In 2018, Apple made history by becoming the first company on Earth to reach $1 trillion valuation, and in 2020, the company reached even greater heights, becoming the only $2 trillion company on the planet. At times, Apple had more cash on hand than the government of the United States. This tech giant, founded in an old garage, has now become the leading tech company in the world, surpassing all its competitors. So how did Apple achieve this tremendous success? In 1976, three college dropouts had a bold idea to create computers small enough for people to use in their homes and offices. Steve Jobs, Steve Wozniak, and Ronald Wayne were determined to make their vision a reality, and so they founded Apple in a house garage. The year was 1976, and Apple had created their first ever product called Apple I, a computer hand-built entirely by Wozniak. It was a motherboard with a CPU, RAM, and basic video chips, which was sold for a unique price of $666.66, a choice made by Wozniak for the repeating numbers. But after just 30 days of releasing Apple I, Wayne decided to leave the company by selling his shares for $800, which is worth billions today. Apple Computer Inc. was officially founded on January 3, 1977, thanks to millionaire Mike Markkula, who provided essential business expertise and funding of $250,000, which is equivalent to nearly $1.2 million as of today. The Apple I was a hit, and it wasn't long before Apple was working on its next creation, the Apple II, which was also designed by Wozniak. These computers were able to stay on top of market leaders like Tandy and Commodore PET thanks to their color graphics and software called VisitCalc, which made them perfect for office use. And VisitCalc provided customers with another reason to acquire the Apple II. After selling the Apple I and the commercial success of Apple II, the company was on a roll as their revenues doubled every 4 months. Between September 1977 and September 1980, yearly sales grew from $775,000 to $118 million, a staggering average annual revenue growth rate of 533%, making Apple the leading computer manufacturer in the United States. In 1980, on December 12, Apple decided to be traded publicly and sold its shares for $22. The IPO was an instant hit as Apple was able to sell $4.6 million in shares. Since Steve Jobs was the largest shareholder, he instantly became a multi-millionaire with a new net worth of $217 million. And so Jobs made a bold move, recruiting John Sculley, the highly successful president of PepsiCo, to join Apple as its president. However, this decision would ultimately prove to be a major mistake for Jobs and Apple. John and Jobs didn't like each other at all. The hate between the two grew so much that Jobs decided to get John terminated from the company through a revolt. However, it ended up in John's favor as the company's board of directors was on John's side, and Steve Jobs was released from his position, though he decided to quit the company himself. So he planned to start a new company known as Next, a company that manufactures powerful workstations. Steve Wozniak also decided that it was right to quit the company after selling most of his shares, claiming the company was headed in the wrong direction. It was a black hole for the tech giant, as it lost two of its co-founders and key players. With Steve gone now, the board members wanted to take a new approach and increase the prices of the computers. The Apple computers were already more expensive compared to the competitors of that time. The board members always wanted to increase the prices even higher and only serve the elite class. However, Steve Jobs was always against this decision. The board called the strategy 55 or die, in which Apple manufactured more expensive Macs with more features and sold them to high-end clients. This wasn't a bad strategy as it guaranteed 55% profit per unit, even by selling fewer units. In the year 1991, Apple released its very first PowerBook laptop. The laptop had a System 7 operating system which was used until OS X was introduced in 2001. The 55 or die strategy worked really well for some years. However, it started failing when Microsoft started making its mark in the market and when the IBM clones became inexpensive. Although Macs had comprehensive software libraries, Microsoft was offering Windows 3.0 at a meager cost in order to save its market value and fight back against competitors. Apple decided to launch new devices. The stock prices were falling day by day. In a desperate attempt to make Apple stable again, the board experimented by launching digital cameras, TV appliances, portable CD audio players, and numerous other items, but unfortunately nothing worked for Apple. Disappointed with constant product failures and record lowest stock prices, the board decided to bring in a new CEO, Michael Spindler, who had worked at Apple since 1980. However, in 1996, Gil Amelio replaced Spindler as the new CEO of the company. Gil Amelio was a visionary man, and upon his arrival, he made several changes in the company, laid off unnecessary staff, and reduced the prices as well. Although Amelio did his best to return Apple back to its glory, his tenure was also marred as Apple's stock prices were at an all-time low. Amelio made a smart move and decided to buy Steve Jobs' company next, and bought Steve back to Apple. In 2001, the iPod was introduced and it became an instant hit. It could store thousands of songs in its 5 GB hard drive, which at the time was revolutionary. In 2003, Apple introduced iTunes, which allowed US residents to purchase music online legally. In 2015, Apple computers started featuring Intel chips, enabling them to run Windows. In 2007, the company's name was switched from Apple Computer Inc. to Apple Inc. The very first iPhone was launched in the same year, and the rest is history. Within 30 hours of its release, 270,000 iPhones were ordered. The iPhone success was so massive that it made Apple the third largest mobile device distributor. 2008 was the year when the Apple App Store was launched to offer third-party applications. With Apple constantly evolving and introducing revolutionary products, in the year 2010, Apple witnessed its all-time high stock price at $300 per share. Today, Apple still rules the world of technology and holds the distinction of becoming the first $1 trillion and first $2 trillion company. So there you have it, folks, the success story of Apple.